What's up, guys? This is the one and only Weaver back with gameplay of SimCity 2013 edition. I know not a ton of people are a huge fan of this game, but I like it. I know there's definitely some issues when it started off, you know, with the lots of problems. The map size is definitely something that's still an issue. Unfortunately, it's not something that, well, according to them, it's not something that can easily be fixed, them being Maxis and EA. But you know, personally, it still is a fun game, like, regardless of all the issues that it had, and it definitely had its fair share. Those have been ironed out in the last, you know, year and a half, almost 2 years that it's been out, so it's gotten better. I'm recording this, you know, post-filming, post-capture, obviously, because if you haven't seen my SimCity Rewinds videos, I kind of go through, I play it out, and I like to fast-forward through it. I like to add, if you haven't noticed, I like to add the SimCity 3000 music to my gameplay, just because it's really, it's kind of nice. I don't know, I like that soundtrack a lot better than the one for the current game, which sounded very Sims 3, Sims 4-esque, which, nothing wrong with that. It's not for me, though. I loved the jazzy style of the SimCity 3000 soundtrack. By far one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time. Just really beautiful. So yeah, getting started, you may be able to tell that I get a lot of my inspiration from people such as Zhatt and Strictoaster, which, if you've never heard of either of them, you should probably definitely check out their channels. I don't think Strictoaster is doing any more videos. I think he's either on a hiatus or he's just done because he just didn't have time, which entirely understandable. But while he was doing it, he was awesome. He's some sort of designer or something that made him make these beautiful, beautiful cities. He was a really big perfectionist like myself, and that definitely was appealing because beforehand, and I know a lot of people still, you know, they just make these gridded cities, and every city looks kind of the same, just on a different map, and it's just kind of boring. And the way he did it was just awesome, and the way Zhatt does it too. They're both that way. I don't mean to talk so much about Strictoaster and then ignore Zhatt. Zhatt definitely, you know, I think he's an inspiration to a lot of us people who enjoy those kind of games, especially design-centric games like this that involve somewhat of a skill besides, you know, being able to pull a trigger and jump down a stairwell doing a 360 no-scope kind of thing, which, you know, it's overrated. So I much prefer this kind of stuff. I love these little pod shapes, if you can't tell. You'll definitely see these a lot in my videos. I try to not just abuse the crap out of them and use them for everything, but it ends up happening a lot. I don't know why. I just like them. I think they're beautiful. I think they work well. They get the job done. Something you'll definitely find out later on is I very much enjoy. I like to have minimal traffic. Obviously, that's kind of been a problem with this game, but that's honestly just a problem with cities in general. Like, and this game did a good job of addressing it though by actually having the cars, you know, finite. They don't disappear on you like they did on SimCity 4 or 3 or whatever, where they were just these ghosts that kind of randomly appeared and disappeared. Right here, I had kind of an issue with getting this this road perfectly straight, and the reason I'm starting in the middle right here is to try and make sure that it evenly cuts straight down the middle of the circle when I come out, and that's something that's not terribly easy to do, especially with the way I'd set this up, which was not exactly perfectly symmetrical. So I figure it out here in a second, but I have kind of a dark mode, and some people are probably already screaming at the screen telling me what to do, that, like, you should have done this, right? And I completely agree, and eventually I'll figure it out because I'm a dum-dum. Just give me time. That's all it takes. Anywho, so yeah, I definitely I don't know. I know EA got a lot of crap for this game. They've gotten a lot of crap for a lot of games recently, and rightfully so. They definitely have not had the right mentality about a lot of games. In recent past, you know, they can't hear you for the sound of the money that they're making, which, you know, it's a problem a lot of people have, and they get mad, you know, at, you know, companies that do that and that have that problem, which doesn't justify it, but it makes it at least understandable. So, anyways, right here I'm trying to connect it to the main highway, so that, you know, I'm not completely cut off. Obviously, that's kind of the first step of any game. And again, my OCD kicks in here. I have to make sure everything is perfectly lined up, and you'll see here in a second what I'm trying to do. there's a method to my madness, I promise. A lot of times I kind of have to sit and think about it and try a few things a couple of times, but you'll definitely see that come to play. You know, I'm not all insanity, just, you know, mostly, you know, 30% water, 70% insanity. That's how it goes. I use a lot of these. I use dirt roads a lot when I'm crafting together things. You'll see why. Just because I don't like spending a lot of money, even though I'm in sandbox mode right now. I don't like to spend a lot of money on, you know, medium and low density streets when I may or may not be deleting it there in a few seconds. So I use dirt roads a lot for guidelines, to use it for things like that. However, in this case, I'm actually just going ahead and using straight the high density avenue instead of the medium density avenue, because I find the medium density avenue, if you connect it at the entrance, if you go from a high medium avenue like the highways are in between the regions, or in between the cities, to a medium density avenue when you get into the city itself, it puts this little intersection thing right there. And if you have traffic backed up, it won't go through the, go through that intersection, and so it kind of causes this little bottleneck, not a bottleneck, but more like just things get blocked up. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the high density avenue in this circumstance. Anyways, so we got one of our entrances, which is awesome. Get rid of this little extra bit. I try and avoid 4-lane intersections in this game. Hopefully, I think so far I have done a good job of not having any 4-lane intersections, and I try my best to not have any at all, because it just causes traffic issues. It's not very realistic in that manner. Obviously 4-lane intersections exist in most cities, if not all, but still, it definitely it makes it a lot easier to deal with if you don't have people going all directions at every intersection. It just makes it a lot more fluid. Maybe not as quick for the people, but I don't give a crap. I'm a bad mayor, so screw you guys. Anyways, yeah, this part's kind of long, just kind of setting up the road network and stuff. It's definitely not the most exciting part of the game, but it's the part where, you know, you get to let your creativity thrive. Whereas later in the game, I find, you know, when you've already established the city and stuff, you kind of have to work around things, work around to the fact that there's a building in the way already that you've already plopped, and you have to delete that building if you want to be creative and add something here. Whereas this early in the game, in the city's lifespan, you know, you kind of get that creative freedom of designing however you want, especially in sandbox mode, which a lot of people will call me out for cheating and stuff like that, which, you know, I mean, one, they put it in the game, so it's not really cheating. You can't cheat on a sim game like this. I like to, you know, I don't know. I like to have the ability to not have to worry about the money. There's definitely a time and a place where I do play cities with the sandbox off, and you'll definitely see videos of that in the future. But right now, to start off, I kind of wanted to focus in on just not worrying about that, just kind of focusing on a more creative aspect of it. So, but one thing I try to do, that being said, is instead of I really lost my train of thought. One thing I try to do, instead of, you know, just letting go and just kind of plopping down everything and anything I want, I like to give myself a little limit. Even though I have unlimited money, theoretically, I like to not have to put in the, was it Alt-W, that gives you 1,000 simoleons more, or excuse me, 100,000 simoleons more. I try not to do that. I try to let the city eventually become profitable. And I also don't like to add things that aren't necessary. At the beginning, I kind of do just to be creative, but later on, you'll see as the city grows, I don't zone out the whole city all at once. I like to add expansions as needed, you know. So that way, it's at least a little more natural the way the city looks. It's not completely planned out. My OCD kind of yells at me for not planning it out 5 steps in advance, but at the same time, you know, there's something to be said about just letting things happen. So I freaking hate, if there's one thing I have wrong with the game, though, it's when you're plopping down the expansions for the city hall, is the little education department, because it's just so clumsy. It's just so random. It's just this random building that's on its own, and you can't make it match up with anything. I suppose I could put it across the street from City Hall, but even then, it doesn't look good. Whereas the other is actually attached to the City Hall itself. So I'm not sure how they would have addressed that any other way. I'm not a game designer by any stretch, but I kind of had a problem here. I kind of wanted to extend this little straight road through, but I couldn't, so I find a way around it eventually. Yeah, so sometimes you just kind of fiddle with these roads. The road tool is definitely a little clumsy, but yeah. So there are a lot of things wrong with this game. I'm not disagreeing with that, but all in all, it doesn't change the fact that you can complain about a game all you want, but if you still get, you know, I've gotten probably 200 hours of gameplay out of this game, if not more, and I never have time to play games, so for me to say that is definitely a testament to the game's, you know, ability to be played and stuff. So even though it does have issues, it doesn't change the fact it's not a fun game. So I kind of give EA a little slack on that, just a little bit, not too much. I don't want to keep saying EA. I give Maxis slack because Maxis I'm more inclined to like them, just because haven't done me too wrong in the past. EA is a little power mongerish. So here I was trying to make a little curved roads into the industrial area, but I did not do that right. And I kind of decided I didn't want to curve, I didn't want to make the industrial area just go one direction. I kind of wanted it to go both, so I ended up making a 3-point intersection instead of this little curved path thing. So, which makes it look a little more, you know, not as fluid, but a little more efficient that way. Especially considering that all the wind is blowing down that way and kind of towards the river, which is good. We're just going to pollute the crap out of it, which, you know, I don't care. Capitalism. Woo. So yeah, anyways. I think here in a second I actually finally plopped down some utilities, which is nice, because that's kind of the first step into actually starting a city. So, we gotta decide where to put this first. I kind of like it there at that end, though. Not there. No, there. Yeah. It definitely will not stay there, especially as we industrialize that area. It's not going to be good for the little water tower to be there. Early on in the game, I'll put a water tower down, and only water tower. Eventually, I'll switch over, as I mentioned. I'll let the city grow naturally, and as my water needs increase, I'll switch over to the water pumping plant or whatever, and then use the sanitation thing that cleans out the water, so you can kind of put it in the industrial zone even if it's not healthy per se. Yeah, I'm gonna start actually zoning finally, which will be nice, so we can actually get this city started. Another thing I do to kind of avoid traffic is I don't zone on avenues, unless it's like an inner city avenue, like an avenue that's actually part of the city's design itself. And these avenues are not; they're more for just getting in and out of the city. So I definitely try and stick to not zoning those at all, and you'll definitely see that I'm really finicky as far as making sure there's absolutely no zoning on those avenues. You'll see here in a second, it definitely, whenever things start building up, it definitely helps a lot. It lets you, you know, make things a little more streamlined. And that definitely helped a lot with the bridge tool which they introduced. I loved it, like I still do. It just makes everything so much better. I don't disagree that it should have been part of the original product. It definitely should have been. That's just an oversight, I guess, that they thought they wouldn't need, which I think is bullshit. So, I don't know. Alright, people, yay, people moving in. Which, thank God. It takes so long. This game is definitely very time consuming initially, and then it's kind of weird. It kind of takes off, and then you're kind of done. Unless you want to move to another city nearby, and the cities have to rely on each other and stuff, and that's fun. But a lot of times by force of habit, I'm so used to building cities by themselves, like in the past games, to not rely on each other and stuff. And, even though there was the ability in like SimCity 4 and stuff to build regions and have them connected, it wasn't as involved as it is in this game. So, but yeah, it's definitely a good setup right now. I'm really liking the highway entrances. I made them all curved so that they wouldn't be just so jagged and ugly and stuff, and actually have some symmetry and some order to it, though. I can't have just a random road just coming on in. I figured it'd be nice to not zone this little central area, because nothing really high density is going to be able to be built around City Hall itself. So I kind of like to leave it as a little garden area, as a little rural area, Central Park if you will, kind of, not really. And I'll also add some stuff in here until the buildings get higher density and eventually overtake this wooded area. But that's okay. For now, we'll do just fine. Looks like we need more residential though, so I should probably start planning that out. And at this point, I kind of go straight into just using small road tools because I'm not going to delete a ton of roads at this point. I'm not as much stuck on the design part of it, so that's good. Kind of makes it a little easier, so you don't have to go around and click the upgrade road button. Just spam the crap out of it. So, oh, messed up. There we go. There you go. Pass John. You got it. Okay, so coming along nicely. I'm kind of at this point in the game. I was kind of not exactly sure how the expansion of the city was going to go, like where I was heading with it. I was just kind of starting to plop down stuff and see how it looked. And I kind of came to the conclusion I hate these 90-degree corners because they kind of look clumsy with the sidewalks and stuff. They kind of, you know, that gets fixed whenever you go to high density where there aren't any like green little strips at the side of the roads, but they are definitely there with the small and medium density roads, and it kind of makes these little corners look really ugly. So yeah, I kind of like to curve out everything. Just kind of makes it a little more natural. And it also makes it a lot more appealing to the eyes, which is definitely my goal for this series right now, at least. So if you notice, like when I make those little curve tools, I go a little past where I'm supposed to stop the road, and that's honestly because I learned that trick from, I think it was Zhatt or maybe Strictoaster, I don't know. One of them was did an advanced road laying tutorial. I think that was definitely Zhatt, and showed how to go about avoiding like the roads, like the little curved areas. Kind of, it's a weird glitch, and it's hard to explain. I think you could see it earlier on in the video. I just kind of didn't mention it, where one of the roads that you connect the curve to kind of angles all of a sudden. It's just weird. It's really strange. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know why the game does it, but it does, and it's really annoying, and I cannot stand it, so I have to avoid that. And in order to do that, it helps to go a little past where you're supposed to connect to the curve and then come back to it, and it actually fixes the issue most of the time. Sometimes it's definitely a buggy game. There's no doubt about that. They could have spent another year on this game, I think, and made it a lot better. And one thing EA has done real bad about, and a lot of gaming producers have done bad about in the past, with this kind of stuff, and with a large portion of the problems of this game, was the fact that they were deciding what was best for the gamer, as in making these city maps so small that it wouldn't affect performance issue later on in the game when the city got too big and there were too many people that it was having to simulate and stuff like that, too many sims. But to that I say, you know, that's the problem of the consumer for buying a game that his computer can't handle. My computer right now can definitely handle a larger map easily. And I kind of wish that this game had that option, you know, at the very least give you an option to limit your map size if you need to, but don't tell the gamer what's best for him. That's for him to decide. It's it's the beauty of freedom. This is America. Alright, so I got a little symmetry going on, and I've added a bridge so that there's no four-way intersections, especially not with the highway, the little avenue coming into the city. I definitely don't want that. And I'm going to leave these little guide lines there. This is frustrating when I try to zone this area back, and sometimes it does it so random. It won't let you zone in these little areas like that after you put a street through it. And I try and fix it by deleting stuff, and it just doesn't work. So, if anybody has a solution for that, please leave something in the comments. Let me know, because that would definitely help. Oh well. Anyways. So yeah, things are building up slowly but surely. I think I need to add a park at some point, obviously. Although I hate adding things onto these curved roads. That's one thing that's a problem, is that when you do that, there's no defined middle. If you didn't notice earlier in the video, I plopped down City Hall and things like that. I physically counted out the spaces that it could be plopped at, and if it was an odd number, I picked the exact middle slot so that it was perfectly in the middle of that little gap area, which is nice. Again, my OCD is just absurd. Sorry, guys. I know it's not as bad as some people's out there, but it's definitely just annoying with games like this where you can be so meticulous about it. So yeah, at this point I had no idea what I was doing, what I was making. I was just starting just throw stuff together and see what looked good. And a lot of times that's what you have to do with these kind of games. You just have to go. Get this mark down eventually, so I can have some more different wealth sims. Right now everybody's poor as hell, and that's not the kind of city we want to have. Not that we're bad. I mean, but you gotta have a balanced economy. So, you know, like I don't know anything about economics though. Weatherman, bloody economy major. But yeah, I'm very good at jokes. I know how to joke. I think it was funny when I was going back and looking at the video for the SimCity Fast Forward of this video. When I plopped down these parks, you know, everybody cheers or whatever. All the Sims cheer when you plop down a park like that, and it was funny because on the video Fast Forward, it kind of came out this little squeak or whatever. My innocent, like 4-year-old self kind of giggled and clapped my hands very childishly and did that. Clearly, I am just an advanced human in both intellect and taste. So, putting down some trees to kind of make this area, this little gap in an area that's not going to be big enough for houses. But I do have to add more houses. But man, I'll tell you, if there's one thing about this game that's interesting though, is the graphics are really good. I don't think it would be that cumbersome of a game if the actual statistical modeling and stuff was happening on the graphics on the GPU, which it is though. Nowadays, most of the gaming stuff happens on the GPU. Oh, I gotta get rid of some poop. A lot of poop. That's never good. I'm gonna put it away so that I have room to add a little road right there at the end if I need to later on. Anyways, I digressed. Let me think. What was I saying? Yeah, the graphics wouldn't have been as demanding if the game wasn't running all these little it wasn't running the simulation off of the GPU itself instead of the CPU. But nowadays, most games rely on the GPU for all of their computation and stuff like that, which is cool. Because that means you don't have to rely as heavily on the processor. You don't have to have something like an i7 Ivy Bridge or something like that. You just have to have a decent graphics card, which thankfully I got for Christmas. I know I sound like a freaking 13-year-old right now. Well, I got it for Christmas. It was wonderful. It's everything I wanted it to be. No. But I did ask for it from my parents because I'm a broke college kid and I can't afford nice things. So eventually, maybe someday I'll buy my own graphics card and it will be glorious and I'll buy like a Titan. Who am I kidding? I'm never going to make that much money. Oh well. Okay, add a little nice park here. Not to make this area high wealth, but to give a little medium wealth commercial so that the everyday man, the middle class man can buy stuff instead of from like a cheap, what's it called? Dirt Cheap. I love that place though. Nothing bad to say about Dirt Cheap because it's just wonderful. It has a lot of cheap stuff. A lot of sketchy stuff, not everything's that great, but there's stuff there. That's at least the good thing. Definitely a college kid's friend. Trying to figure out what to do next. I guess this is looking pretty solid right now. I'm pretty happy with it. Oh, yep. I forgot about the fire station and stuff. I guess you gotta do that. And I like to put my fire station really close to the industrial area just because I find that that's an area that typically gets on fire a lot. I like to put my sign on top of the fire station itself instead of a little bell tower. I put the bell tower on the expansion that I add on later, just because I have to have the name on top of the fire station on the main part. A lot of health issues too. I like to add the clinic or the hospital or whatever close to the higher wealth sims, just because one, it adds wealth to the area, it adds land value to the area, but at the same time, it allows wealthier sims to get there. And I like to add the police station closer to the lower wealth side of town, just because on the typically that's most of the time where all the crime is. So not always, but whatever. Not that it really matters in this game entirely. It's not like in SimCity 4 where there was a radius of effect for all these buildings, and if you were outside of that radius, it just wouldn't help people. Like if somebody called 911 too far away, they're like, screw you. Whereas at least in this game, they can get farther away if they need to, but it's kind of a proximity thing too, though. They don't, you know, it's better to have, you know, a fire station close to places with fires. That way you don't get a fire truck stuck in traffic on the other side of town trying to get all the way across. So again, me putting the school right in the middle, using that little dot rule. And if it's an even number, I try to pick the side that looks best. But if it's an odd number, fortunately, you can kind of just put it right exactly in the middle. One thing I do is, you know, I don't add the other modules like the classroom extensions and stuff all the time, but I will add the extra buses because it's kind of hard to gauge when you don't have enough buses, at least with the schools. Because I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it actually notifies you if the school, if students are waiting too long at the bus stops. It'll tell you if like passengers are waiting too long for buses, like city buses, but I don't know if it does that for school buses. So again, correct me if I'm wrong. I could very well be wrong, and I probably am. That's the spirit, right? Anyways. Okay. So popping down school stops so that children's go to school. Yeah, the town's coming together. It's not a metropolis by any stretch, but it's getting there. It's definitely better than the field that we had earlier. And eventually, whenever this is a nice big area, I would like to expand into other regions and keep this region going, save it. I don't like where this police station is. It's not symmetrical with the clinic and the fire station, so I'm going to put it right here across from the clinic. Sorry, house. I'm sure it was lovely, but no longer. I'm going to put actually one away too, so that there's room for the jail cells if need be. So, I've done some stuff. I hate that. Can't put the flag except for right in the middle of the walkway, which is kind of dumb. Not that it matters, the Sims will just clip right through it, but it's just aesthetically just a middle finger. So, oh well. Alright, infrastructure's good, everything's set up. The town will survive on its own right now, that's a good thing. So that's kind of what I wanted to get to in this video. We'll run through the city. I forgot to use the actual video capture proper in the actual Sims game, which in the SimCity game, because that would get rid of the heads-up display or whatever, so that it would not, or the UI for that matter, so that you wouldn't have this little random mouse thing in the middle of the screen. But there's a little fly through the city just to see what it looks like. I think it looks cool. It's coming along nicely. I'm really excited about it, and I'm looking forward to kind of letting it grow in the future. I love the windmills, the wind turbines, I guess. It makes it look nice and high-tech, even though it's very much cheap and, you know, easy. But green, which is nice. Nice little neighborhood area. This is by far the nicer area of town. I don't think I have any high wealth yet, which I guess I'll get to that in the next video. Oh, forgot to click. It's kind of clumsy of me. I love the way parks look in this game too, just real nice. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Check out the next part. See you guys next time.